Welcome back to the channel everyone, and thank you for joining us today where we dive deep into the hidden stories of everyday coins that could be worth life-changing money. And today we are exploring one of the most fascinating and mysterious stories in modern American coin collecting, the 1988 D Washington quarter dollar that many experts and collectors believe could be worth as much as $17 million due to a perfect storm of rare minting errors, overlooked production mistakes, unusual metal composition possibilities, and extraordinary historical circumstances. A coin that on the surface looks completely ordinary yet may secretly be one of the most valuable quarters ever struck. And as we begin this journey, it is important to understand that the true magic of rare coins often lies not in how they were meant to be made but in how they accidentally came into existence. Because the United States Mint, despite its advanced technology, is still a human-operated system, where errors can and do happen, and when those errors align in just the right way, they can transform a simple 25-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar treasure. So let us imagine for a moment the year 1988 at the Denver Mint, where millions upon millions of quarters were produced for everyday circulation, each intended to be identical, each intended to pass through countless hands without a second thought. Yet within this massive production run, certain coins may have slipped through with astonishing defects, and it is these defects that form the foundation of the $17 million valuation story, beginning with the possibility of a wrong planchet error, one of the most dramatic and valuable mistakes in coin minting, where a quarter design is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or even a different metal entirely, such as a silver planchet, a foreign coin blank, or an experimental alloy blank that was never meant to enter circulation. And if a 1988 D quarter were struck on a 90% silver planchet similar to pre-1965 quarters, or on a transitional experimental alloy tested quietly by the Mint, the intrinsic and numismatic value would skyrocket instantly, especially if the composition could be scientifically verified through non-destructive testing, making such a coin not just rare but unique. And uniqueness is one of the most powerful drivers of value in the coin collecting world, especially when combined with clear documentation and professional grading. And beyond wrong planchet errors, there is the intriguing possibility of a dramatic double die obverse or reverse error, where the coin design was impressed onto the die multiple times at slightly different angles, resulting in strong doubling on inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 1988 itself. And while minor doubling is common and often worthless, a bold and dramatic double die visible to the naked eye and confirmed under magnification can command enormous premiums, particularly if it is the only known example from that year and mint. And even more fascinating is the idea of a triple die or quadruple die event, an almost unheard of scenario that would push the coin into legendary status. And then there are off-metal strike possibilities, where the quarter design was struck on a copper penny planchet, a nickel planchet, or even a blank intended for another country's coinage, which would result in incorrect weight, diameter, and edge characteristics, all of which would be instantly noticeable to an experienced collector and highly desirable. And when we talk about the 1988 D quarter potentially reaching a value of $17 million, we must also consider extreme mint errors like a full blockage, where one coin becomes stuck to a die and impresses its reversed image onto the next blank, creating a mirror-like ghost image that is both visually stunning and incredibly rare, especially when preserved in high-grade condition. And another spectacular error possibility is a double denomination strike, where a coin is struck as one denomination and then struck again as another, for example a quarter struck over a previously struck dime or foreign coin, creating overlapping designs that tell a complex and fascinating story of minting chaos. And these kinds of errors are not only rare but historically significant because they reveal internal failures in mint quality control, making them highly sought after by advanced collectors and museums alike. And speaking of museums, institutional demand plays a huge role in extreme coin valuations, because when a coin is so rare that only one or two examples exist, competition shifts from individual collectors to wealthy institutions, private foundations, and elite numismatic investors who view such coins as cultural artifacts rather than mere collectibles. And this is where values can leap from thousands or even hundreds of thousands into the multi-million dollar range, especially if the coin is accompanied by a compelling story, solid provenance, and third-party authentication from respected grading services. And the 1988 D quarter story becomes even more compelling when we consider the possibility of a missing mint mark combined with other errors, because while Denver Mint quarters should carry a clear D Mint mark, there have been documented cases of grease-filled dies or damaged punches resulting in missing or malformed mint marks, and if such an error occurred alongside a double die or wrong planchet strike, the combined rarity would be exponential rather than additive, meaning the coin would be far rarer than the sum of its individual errors, and in numismatics rarity multiplied by demand equals extraordinary value. And another key factor is condition, because error coins often survive in poor condition due to their circulation. But if a dramatic error 1988 D quarter were discovered in near-perfect mint state condition, with sharp details, original luster, and minimal contact marks, its value would be magnified many times over, as collectors are willing to pay enormous premiums for error coins that look as if they were struck yesterday. And then there is the mysterious possibility of transitional errors, which occur when the mint is changing designs, compositions, or processes. And while 1988 is not widely known as a major transition year, internal experiments and test strikes are often conducted quietly years before official changes are announced, and if a small batch of experimental planchets or dies were accidentally used to strike quarters for circulation, the resulting coins would be virtually impossible to replicate and nearly impossible to trace, making any discovered example a once-in-a-lifetime find. And when you combine that with the Denver Mint's high output and the chaos of mass production, it becomes entirely plausible that a few extraordinary mistakes slipped through unnoticed, and the story grows even more intriguing when we consider the role of metallurgical anomalies, such as incorrect alloy ratios, contamination with precious metals, or bonding errors in clad layers, where the copper core and nickel outer layers separate or fuse improperly, resulting in unusual color, weight, and magnetic properties. And such anomalies can only be fully appreciated through advanced testing, which adds an element of scientific mystery that appeals strongly to high-end collectors, and beyond physical errors there is also the psychological factor of discovery, because the most valuable coins are often those found unexpectedly by ordinary people, in pocket change, old jars, inherited collections, or estate sales, and the narrative of a humble 1988 D quarter turning out to be worth $17 million captures the imagination of the public, driving media attention, viral interest, and increased demand, all of which further inflate value. And it is important to understand that coin values at this level are not determined by price guides or past auction results alone, but by private negotiations between elite buyers who are willing to pay extraordinary sums for the right piece, especially if it fills a missing gap in a world-class collection. And the Washington Quarter Series is one of the most widely collected in American numismatics, meaning that any coin which fundamentally disrupts the known catalog of varieties instantly becomes legendary, and legends command prices far beyond normal market logic. And we must also consider the role of authentication and controversy, because some of the most expensive coins in history gained their value through intense debate over their legitimacy, which paradoxically increased their fame and desirability. And a disputed but authenticated 1988 D quarter with unprecedented errors would likely spark years of discussion, research papers, and media coverage, all of which would cement its status as a numismatic icon. And icons are priceless. And while $17 million may sound unbelievable for a modern quarter, history has shown us time and again that rarity, story, and desire can push coin values to unimaginable heights, from the 1933 double eagle to unique error cents and nickels that sold for millions. And the 1988 D quarter, under the right circumstances, could join that elite group, serving as a reminder that even in our modern age of technology and automation, mistakes still happen, and sometimes those mistakes create treasures hiding in plain sight, waiting patiently in change drawers and collections for someone curious enough to look closely, weigh carefully, measure precisely, and ask the question that changes everything: could this ordinary coin be extraordinary? And that is why we encourage everyone watching to examine their coins, learn the signs of errors. Next, 1985 P quarter dollar, today, where we explore the unbelievable hidden value locked inside everyday coins. And today's story is one that captures the imagination of collectors, treasure hunters, and curious viewers alike, because we are diving into the fascinating possibility that a simple 1985 P Washington quarter dollar could be worth an astonishing $15 million due to a rare convergence of minting errors, production mistakes, unusual circumstances, and extraordinary possibilities. that elevate this common circulating coin into the realm of legendary numismatic treasures, and from the very beginning it is important to understand that some of the most valuable coins in history were never meant to exist. They were born from accidents, oversights, and mechanical failures inside the United States Mint. And the 1985 Philadelphia Mint quarter sits at a perfect intersection of mass production, evolving technology, and human error, all of which create fertile ground for mistakes that can later become priceless collectibles. And in 1985 the Philadelphia Mint was producing hundreds of millions of quarters to meet the demands of commerce, and when coins are struck at such enormous volumes, even the smallest deviation from normal procedure can result in rare anomalies slipping through unnoticed. And one of the most powerful explanations for a $15 million valuation begins with the possibility of a wrong planchet error, which occurs when a quarter design is struck on a blank intended for another denomination or another metal entirely, and if a 1985 P quarter were struck on a silver planchet originally meant for pre-1965 coinage or an experimental silver-clad blank retained within the mint for testing purposes, the resulting coin would immediately stand apart from all known examples, because by 1985 quarters were officially copper-nickel clad only, and the presence of silver would contradict established mint records, creating a numismatic mystery that collectors would pay extraordinary sums to own. And beyond silver there is the equally fascinating possibility of a quarter struck on a foreign planchet, perhaps one destined for a coin of similar diameter from another country, resulting in an incorrect weight, thickness, and metallic composition that could only be explained by a dramatic breakdown in planchet handling. And such coins are treasured because they tell a story not just of American minting but of global mint operations intersecting in unexpected ways. And another major contributor to extreme value is the possibility of a dramatic double die error, particularly a double die obverse where the date 1985, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust" appears strongly doubled due to multiple impressions during die creation, and while minor doubling caused by mechanical vibration is common and usually worthless, true hub doubling that is bold, widespread, and clearly visible to the naked eye is exceptionally rare, and if such doubling were discovered on a 1985 P quarter and confirmed by experts, it would instantly become one of the most important modern double die quarters ever known, especially if only one or two examples exist, and rarity at that level drives competition among elite collectors, and competition is the fuel that pushes prices into the multimillion-dollar range. And the story becomes even more compelling when we consider the possibility of multiple errors appearing on a single coin, because error rarity multiplies rather than adds, meaning a quarter with a double die, wrong planchet, and off-center strike would be exponentially rarer than coins with only one of those features, and such multi-error coins are considered masterpieces of minting failure, eagerly sought by advanced collectors who specialize in dramatic and educational errors, and off-center strikes themselves are another fascinating possibility, where the coin blank was not properly seated during striking, resulting in a design that is shifted significantly toward one side, and when the date and mint attribution remain fully visible such errors become especially valuable, and if a 1985 P quarter were struck far off-center while also displaying other anomalies, the visual impact alone would make it a centerpiece in any collection, and condition plays a crucial role here as well, because error coins are often heavily circulated and damaged, but if an extraordinary error quarter survived in near-perfect mint state condition with original luster and minimal contact marks, its desirability and value would increase dramatically. And then there is the intriguing possibility of a broad strike error, where the retaining collar fails and the coin expands outward upon striking, resulting in an unusually wide diameter and thin profile. And while broad strikes are known, a perfectly preserved broad strike quarter from 1985 combined with other errors would be extremely rare, and collectors pay significant premiums for coins that clearly demonstrate multiple stages of mechanical failure within the mint, because such coins serve as tangible records of the minting process itself. And among the most visually stunning and valuable errors that could affect a 1985 P quarter is a brockage error, which occurs when a previously struck coin becomes stuck to a die and impresses its reversed image onto the next blank, creating a mirror-like incused design that appears ghostly and surreal. And full brockage errors are especially prized because of their dramatic appearance and rarity, and if such an error occurred on a quarter and was preserved in high-grade condition, it could command extraordinary sums, especially when combined with the fame and popularity of the Washington Quarter series. and double denomination errors are another powerful possibility, where a coin is struck as one denomination and then struck again as another, such as a quarter struck over a previously struck dime or foreign coin, resulting in overlapping designs that fascinate collectors and researchers alike. And such coins are considered educational treasures because they visually explain complex minting failures in a way that no diagram ever could. And beyond visible design errors, there is also the realm of metallurgical anomalies, such as incorrect alloy ratios, bonding errors between the copper core and nickel layers, or contamination with trace amounts of precious metals, all of which can result in unusual color, weight discrepancies, and magnetic behavior. And coins exhibiting such anomalies often require advanced scientific testing to fully understand, adding a layer of mystery and scholarly interest that appeals strongly to museums and high-end collectors. And the idea of a transitional error must also be considered, because while 1985 is not widely recognized as a major transition year, the mint often experiments quietly with materials, dyes, and processes years before official changes are announced. And if experimental planchets or dyes were accidentally introduced into regular production, the resulting coins would be undocumented anomalies, making any surviving examples incredibly valuable due to their unrecorded nature. And when we talk about valuations reaching $15 million, we must also consider the power of story and provenance. Because the most valuable coins are not just rare, they are famous, and fame in numismatics is built through discovery narratives, expert validation, media coverage, and institutional interest. And a unique or near-unique 1985 P quarter with unprecedented errors would likely become the subject of articles, videos, research papers, and heated debates within the collecting community, all of which would elevate its status and desirability. And controversy itself can increase value, because collectors are drawn to coins that challenge established knowledge and force experts to reconsider long-held assumptions. And the Washington Quarter series is one of the most widely collected series in American numismatics, meaning that any coin which fundamentally alters the known catalog of varieties becomes an instant must-have for top-tier collectors. And when multiple wealthy collectors compete for a single coin, prices can escalate rapidly beyond traditional market logic, especially in private sales where values are not constrained by public auction expectations. And it is also important to understand that values like $15 million are not based on face value or metal content but on a complex interplay of rarity, condition, demand, historical significance, and narrative power. And history has repeatedly shown that even modern coins can achieve staggering valuations when they possess the right combination of these factors. And the idea that a coin minted within living memory could be worth more than a luxury home or private jet captures the public imagination and fuels widespread interest in coin collecting. And that interest leads people to search their change, study error varieties, and learn the minting process, which in turn increases the likelihood of new discoveries, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of fascination and value growth. And the 1985 P quarter is especially compelling because it is common enough to be accessible yet old enough to have passed through countless hands, increasing the chance that rare examples could still be hiding unnoticed in collections, jars, and drawers. And professional grading and authentication play a critical role here, because no coin can achieve such a valuation without verification from respected third-party grading services. And once a coin is authenticated, encapsulated, and documented as a unique or ultra-rare error, it transitions from curiosity to artifact, and artifacts carry cultural and historical weight that transcends ordinary collecting. Next, 1982 D1-cent coin. Today, where we uncover the hidden fortunes hiding in everyday pocket change. And today's story is one that truly stretches the imagination and excites collectors around the world, because we are diving deep into the unbelievable yet fascinating possibility that a simple 1982 D Washington quarter dollar could be worth as much as $16 million due to an extraordinary combination of minting errors, production mistakes, rare circumstances, and unique possibilities that elevate this ordinary-looking coin into the realm of legendary numismatic treasures. And as always, we welcome both seasoned collectors and curious newcomers, because stories like this remind us that history, money, and human error often collide in ways that create life-changing discoveries. And to truly understand how a 1982 D quarter could reach such an astonishing valuation, we must first travel back to the early 1980s, a time of transition, pressure, and experimentation at the United States Mint, where economic challenges, rising metal costs, evolving technology, and massive production demands created the perfect environment for mistakes to occur, and in 1982 the Washington quarter was still being struck in its standard copper-nickel clad composition, intended to be uniform, predictable, and reliable, yet behind the scenes the mint was constantly testing materials, adjusting equipment, and refining processes, and it is within these quiet adjustments that some of the most valuable errors in modern coinage history were born, and one of the most powerful possibilities associated with a $16,001,982 D quarter is the concept of a wrong planchet error, which occurs when a coin is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, a different metal composition, or even a different country altogether. And if a 1982 D quarter were struck on a silver planchet originally intended for a pre-1965 quarter, or on a leftover experimental silver-clad blank, the result would be a coin that defies official mint records, immediately placing it in a category of extreme rarity, and because silver quarters were officially discontinued years earlier, the discovery of such a coin would raise profound questions about how it was created, fueling intense collector interest and scholarly debate, both of which drive value upward. And beyond silver planchets there is the tantalizing possibility of a quarter struck on a foreign planchet, perhaps one destined for a coin of similar size from another nation, resulting in incorrect weight, thickness, edge design, and metallic properties, all of which would be immediately evident upon close examination and scientific testing, and coins like this are prized not only for their rarity but for the international mystery they represent, telling a story of global minting operations intersecting in unexpected ways. And another major contributor to the potential $16 million value is the possibility of a dramatic double die error, particularly a double die obverse where the date 1982, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust" appears strongly doubled due to multiple impressions during the die creation process, and while minor doubling is relatively common and often dismissed, a bold, clearly visible double die that affects multiple design elements and is confirmed as a true hub doubling rather than machine doubling is a completely different matter, especially if it is unique or extremely rare within the Denver Mint production of that year, and if such doubling were combined with other anomalies such as die rotation or off-center striking, the rarity would increase exponentially, not just incrementally, and exponential rarity is the foundation of multi-million-dollar coin valuations. And speaking of off-center strikes, the idea of a significantly misaligned strike where the quarter design is impressed far from the center of the planchet while still retaining a full date and mint mark is another powerful factor, because dramatic off-center errors are visually striking and highly collectible, and when preserved in high mint state condition they can command enormous premiums, especially if they originate from a popular series like the Washington quarter, and condition cannot be overstated, because a coin with extraordinary errors that also displays pristine surfaces, original luster, and minimal wear becomes an entirely different class of collectible compared to one that has been heavily circulated. And then there is the possibility of a broad strike error, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread outward, resulting in an abnormally wide diameter and thin profile, and while broad strikes alone are known, a 1982 D quarter broad strike combined with other errors such as doubling, wrong planchet, or partial collar engagement would be extraordinarily rare, and collectors pay a premium for coins that demonstrate multiple stages of minting failure in a single piece, because such coins serve as physical records of complex mechanical breakdowns within the mint, and one of the most visually stunning and valuable errors that could apply to a 1982 D quarter is a full or partial brockage, which occurs when one coin becomes stuck to a die and impresses its mirrored image onto the next blank, creating a ghostly, incused design that appears reversed and flattened, and brockage errors are among the most dramatic in all of numismatics, and when they occur on popular denominations and dates they can command extraordinary prices, especially if the brockage is complete and well-centered. And then there are double denomination errors, where a coin is struck as one denomination and then struck again as another, such as a quarter struck over a previously struck dime or foreign coin, resulting in overlapping designs that tell a chaotic and fascinating story of misfed blanks and mechanical confusion, and such coins are often considered masterpieces of error collecting because they visually illustrate the minting process gone wrong, and the Denver Mint in 1982 was producing coins at an enormous pace, which increases the statistical likelihood that rare and unusual mistakes could slip through quality control unnoticed, and beyond visible errors there is the intriguing realm of metallurgical anomalies, such as incorrect alloy mixtures, bonding errors between the copper core and nickel outer layers, or contamination with trace amounts of precious metals, all of which can result in unusual coloration, weight discrepancies, and magnetic properties, and coins exhibiting such anomalies often require advanced testing to fully understand, adding a layer of scientific intrigue that appeals to elite collectors and institutions. And the possibility of a transitional error must also be considered, because while 1982 is not widely recognized as a major transition year for quarters, the mint frequently conducts internal testing and experimentation long before public changes are announced, and if experimental dies, planchets, or processes were accidentally used in regular production, the resulting coins would be undocumented anomalies, making any surviving examples incredibly valuable due to their unrecorded nature. And when we talk about values reaching $16 million, we must also acknowledge the role of provenance and storytelling, because the most valuable coins are not just rare. They are famous, and fame in numismatics is built through discovery stories, expert validation, media attention, and institutional interest, and a 1982 D-quarter with unprecedented errors would likely become the subject of articles, videos, academic papers, and heated debates, all of which would elevate its status and desirability, and controversy itself can be a value multiplier, as collectors are drawn to coins that challenge established knowledge and force experts to reconsider what they thought they knew. And then there is the factor of collector demand, because the Washington Quarter series is one of the most widely collected in the United States, meaning that any coin which dramatically alters the known catalog of varieties becomes an instant must-have for top-tier collectors, and when multiple wealthy collectors compete for a single unique or near-unique coin, prices can escalate rapidly beyond traditional market logic, and at the multi-million-dollar level transactions often occur privately rather than at public auction, allowing values to reach heights that are rarely reported or recorded. And it is also important to understand that valuations like $16 million are not based on face value or metal content but on a combination of rarity, condition, demand, historical significance, and narrative power. And history has repeatedly shown that modern coins are not immune to extreme valuations when they possess the right combination of factors, as seen with other era coins that have sold for staggering sums. And the idea that a coin minted within many people's lifetimes could be worth more than a luxury mansion or private jet is precisely what captivates the public imagination and fuels treasure hunting enthusiasm, and the psychological impact of such stories cannot be underestimated, because when people believe that extraordinary value can be found in ordinary places they begin to look more closely, and increased scrutiny leads to new discoveries, which in turn expand the known universe of errors and varieties, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of interest and value growth. And the 1982 D-quarter fits perfectly into this narrative, because it is common enough to be accessible yet old enough to have passed through countless hands, increasing the likelihood that rare examples could still be hiding unnoticed. And that sense of possibility is what keeps collectors searching rolls, jars, and collections year after year. Last 1989 D-quarter dollar coin. Today we are diving into a truly mind-blowing topic that has fascinated collectors and dreamers alike, the astonishing possibility that a 1989 D Washington quarter dollar could be worth as much as $14 million due to a rare and powerful combination of minting errors, production mistakes, unusual circumstances, and extraordinary numismatic possibilities that transform what appears to be an ordinary modern coin into a potential legend. And from the very start, it is important to understand that some of the most valuable coins in history were never planned, never announced, and never intended to exist. Instead, they were created by moments of mechanical failure, human oversight, or experimental processes inside the United States Mint. And the Denver Mint in 1989 was producing massive quantities of quarters to meet the needs of everyday commerce, which means speed, volume, and efficiency were prioritized. And whenever millions of coins are struck at high speed, the possibility for rare and dramatic mistakes increases, and it is within this environment that the story of a $14,001,989 D-quarter begins to make sense, because rarity on this level is not about one small flaw but about a convergence of multiple extraordinary factors coming together in a single surviving coin. And one of the most powerful possibilities begins with a wrong planchet error, which occurs when a quarter design is struck on a blank intended for Another denomination or another metal composition entirely, and if a 1989 D quarter were struck on a silver planchet left over from earlier coinage, an experimental alloy planchet, or even a foreign planchet of similar size, the resulting coin would immediately stand apart from all known examples, because by 1989 quarters were officially copper-nickel clad only, and any deviation from that standard would contradict official mint records, creating a mystery that collectors and researchers would pay extraordinary sums to own, especially if metallurgical testing confirmed an unexpected composition. And beyond wrong planchets there is the fascinating possibility of a dramatic double die error, particularly a double die obverse where the date 1989, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust" shows strong, clear doubling caused during the die hubbing process. And true double dies are far rarer and more valuable than simple machine doubling, especially when the doubling is bold, widespread, and visible without magnification. And if such a double die were discovered on a 1989 D quarter and confirmed as unique or extremely rare, it would instantly become one of the most important modern quarter varieties ever known, and rarity of that magnitude attracts elite collectors who are willing to compete aggressively, driving values into the multi-million-dollar range. And the potential value grows even more when we consider the idea of multiple errors appearing on the same coin. Because in numismatics rarity multiplies rather than adds, meaning a coin with a double die, wrong planchet, and off-center strike is exponentially rarer than coins with only one of those features, and multi-error coins are considered masterpieces of minting failure, prized not only for their scarcity but for their ability to visually demonstrate how complex and fragile the minting process can be. And off-center strikes themselves are another compelling possibility, where the planchet was not properly aligned during striking, resulting in a design that is significantly shifted toward one edge, and when the date and mint mark remain fully visible such errors become especially desirable. And if a 1989 D quarter were struck far off-center while also exhibiting other dramatic errors, the visual impact alone would make it a centerpiece in any world-class collection. And condition plays a massive role here as well, because error coins are often found after years of circulation, heavily worn and damaged. But if an extraordinary error quarter survived in near-perfect mint state condition with sharp details, original luster, and minimal marks, its value could multiply many times over, because collectors pay a premium for error coins that look as if they were struck yesterday. And another important possibility is a broad strike error, where the retaining collar fails and the coin expands outward during striking, resulting in an unusually wide diameter and thinner profile. And while broad strikes are known, a 1989 D quarter broad strike combined with other errors would be exceptionally rare, especially if it were well preserved, and collectors are drawn to coins that clearly demonstrate multiple stages of mechanical failure because they serve as physical records of what went wrong inside the mint. And among the most visually striking and valuable errors that could affect a 1989 D quarter is a brockage error, which occurs when a previously struck coin becomes stuck to a die and impresses its mirrored image onto the next blank, creating a ghostly, ink-use design that appears reversed and flattened. And full brockage errors are especially prized due to their dramatic appearance and rarity, and if such an error occurred on a quarter and survived in high-grade condition it could command extraordinary sums, particularly when combined with the popularity of the Washington Quarter series. And double denomination errors are another powerful possibility, where a coin is struck as one denomination and then struck again as another, such as a quarter struck over a previously struck dime or foreign coin, resulting in overlapping designs that fascinate collectors and researchers because they visually tell the story of minting chaos. And beyond visible design errors there is also the intriguing realm of metallurgical anomalies, such as incorrect alloy ratios, bonding errors between the copper core and nickel layers, or contamination with trace amounts of precious metals, all of which can result in unusual color, weight differences, and magnetic properties. And coins with such anomalies often require advanced scientific testing, adding a layer of mystery and academic interest that appeals strongly to museums and elite collectors. And the idea of a transitional or experimental error must also be considered, because while 1989 is not widely known as a major transition year, the United States Mint often experiments quietly with materials, dyes, and processes long before official changes are announced. And if experimental planchets or dies were accidentally used in regular production, the resulting coins would be undocumented anomalies, making any surviving examples extraordinarily valuable due to their unrecorded nature. and when we talk about a $14 million valuation we must also understand the role of story, provenance, and fame, because the most valuable coins are not just rare, they are legendary, and legends are built through discovery stories, expert validation, media coverage, and institutional interest, and a unique or near-unique 1989 D-quarter with unprecedented errors would almost certainly become the subject of articles, videos, research papers, and intense debate within the numismatic community, all of which would elevate its status and desirability. And controversy itself can increase value because collectors are drawn to coins that challenge established knowledge and force experts to reconsider what they thought was settled, and the Washington Quarter series is one of the most widely collected series in American numismatics, meaning that any coin which fundamentally alters the known list of varieties becomes an instant target for top-tier collectors, and when multiple wealthy collectors compete for a single extraordinary coin, prices can escalate far beyond traditional market expectations, especially in private sales where values are not constrained by public auction records, and it is also essential to understand that valuations like $14 million are not based on face value or metal content but on a complex combination of rarity, condition, demand, historical importance, and narrative power, and history has shown us repeatedly that even modern coins can reach staggering prices when they possess the right mix of these factors. And the idea that a coin minted within many people's lifetimes could be worth more than a mansion or private jet captures the imagination and fuels widespread interest in coin collecting, and that interest leads people to search their change more carefully, study rare varieties, and learn the minting process, which in turn increases the likelihood of new discoveries, creating a cycle of curiosity and value growth. And the 1989 D-quarter is especially compelling because it is common enough to be accessible yet old enough to have passed through countless hands, meaning rare examples could still be hiding unnoticed in collections, jars, and drawers, and professional grading and authentication play a critical role in transforming such a discovery into a multi-million-dollar treasure, because once a coin is verified, encapsulated, and documented by respected grading services, it transitions from curiosity to recognized artifact. And artifacts carry cultural and historical weight that attracts not only collectors but institutions and museums, and while not every 1989 D-quarter will be worth more than face value, the possibility that one extraordinary example exists is enough to inspire endless fascination and searching, and that sense of possibility is at the heart of numismatics, the idea that history is scattered throughout everyday life waiting to be recognized. And as we reflect on the story of the hypothetical $14,001,989 D-quarter, we are reminded that mistakes are not always failures.